Fantastic. It works. All right. Let's talk about, God. Hotel performance is pretty much a repeat of last year to date, through July 26th. Occupancy is down a point, rates up a point, and RevPAR is down or is up about a point. So demand is increasing, revenue is increasing, but it's pretty much a rerun of what we saw last year at this time. The path is certainly different than we saw, but the news is that with all of the things going on in the economy, the initial predictions, well, we went into the year thinking we're going to be probably 3% up in RevPAR. We're 1% up now, and that's, I would argue, somewhat of a victory. Been a meandering path, but it's much, much better. We are massively outperforming what we thought the reset was. So kind of whole lot of numbers, but that's really the takeaway through the first half plus of the year.
When you say massively outperforming, what were you thinking we would be?
We'll get there.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you
missed the segue by
you say those
missed it by that
say those two words together
a
and
single slide, but yes. TDT, incredibly boring because you look at the lower line is 2019, just to have it there, and all the other lines run together. So ultimately, yes, you can say one thing or the other, but pretty much it's doing the same thing it's done for the last 3 years, which makes sense because hotel performance is about similar, and that cascades down to short-term rentals as well. Okay, in terms of FLL airport volume, passengers are down. They're down on a year-over-year basis fairly significantly. This traces back to Spirit, JetBlue, and Southwest, who were last year the three largest carriers. Delta is the third largest carrier now at FLL, but they are retrenching to a certain degree. And so that's hurting us in terms of lift coming to FLL. Southwest moved their international flights out, so the bottom line is international. So that annualizes in June when we get the June number. So it has annualized, but not in the data that we have available. Okay, in terms of Port Everglades, cruise continues to outperform. They're all doing very, very well. Norwegian is the only one who doesn't operate at Fort Lauderdale. They're the only ones who you see sort of squawks coming out of to say we're not doing as well as we were. So this is, again, nothing but a good news story. We've got shifts in over the off-peak period. So again, that is all sort of up and to the right, super positive. Okay, to answer your question, Tim, directly, we are on the market forecast slide. And apparently I no longer know how to forecast because I missed by 3, 7, and 10%. I was within like 17 cents last year. This year, yeah, not so much. So I have over-rotated in my forecast. So we are seeing a short-term rebound in the economic performance of the U.S. overall. So, but we see factor inputs due to tariffs and sort of the standard moving of inflation that hasn't gone away entirely. They're up and factor inputs are up. So again, prices, there's going to put upward pressure on that. We have to see how the economy does that. So my forecast is proving way too soft because we're sort of figuring out, is this a short-term pull forward kind of thing? It's like people are getting it in now before the prices go up, or is this the world going on? Because we are primarily a higher end destination, are we less susceptible to sort of the cold that's going on across sort of all income strata because we skew to the higher income strata? So the reason I haven't corrected my forecast is I'm really kind of in a wait and see mode. So you can sort of make Jerome Powell jokes about me, but ultimately that's kind of where I'm at right now. Stay tuned is all I can say. Okay, in terms of what's happening sort of overall, no rate cut from the Fed in July. The odds of it going up and happening in September are on the rise. but you see inflation is up 2.7%, based on the CPI, the urban CPI, which is how they measure that. Unemployment is, again, jobs market is softening a little bit, but it is still growing. So we'll see what comes out of them. In terms of what's happening, Canada travel to the US is way down. You sort of saw it. It was down 20% in April, 24 in May, 33 in June month to date for the last numbers that are coming out of them. The good news for Greater Fort Lauderdale is that FLL we're only down 13% in Q2. So that is really good from a passenger perspective. It's kind of taken out of the hide of Porter Airlines because they went in big with new aircraft, but we are not suffering to the level that they are suffering the rest of in air travel. You know, transborder people in cars, that's a drastic sort of problem there. Thankfully, that is it's less our problem than other people, and we have less of the problem as a destination. So that's really good. In terms of recession chances, they are pulling back. We see JP Morgan and Goldman have both pulled theirs down. But again, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. We don't know what's going to happen. The next big date in this is August 7th, when the next round of tariffs go in. We don't know. Consumer confidence, it's down on a year-over-year basis, but it's moving upward. Again, this blip we're doing better than the world. People are seeing that. Customers, consumers are feeling that. So you see it in consumer sentiment. Both of those are going there. Sort of the dark gathering cloud on this is that from the June CPI numbers, we saw that it was, it was up a little bit, based on what you saw up top, but airline prices were down, hotel prices were down, new and used autos were down. That makes up about 10% of CPI. When you think about it, those can't be down. Factor inputs are up for them. They say, I'm running an airline. You know what my problem is? I've got no demand. So you see discretionary demand is going down, and it's depressing price levels. So there is supplier pain being taken that hides it from sort of the CPI numbers. So again, leading indicators of discretionary spend are down. All right, travel price index, again, this sort of shows the same thing. We are down in travel areas, hotels, rental cars. They're showing down when the real pressure is upward. So that's just something to think about. And finally, where are we with the tariffs? So setting the baseline for this, effective tariff rate last year was about 2.4%. Yale was budgeting, the Yale budget lab estimated 17.5%. They're up to 18.3. I did my own weighted average of where we are and where we're, likely headed, and that comes in at about 21%. So there is a lot of pressure upward on that. If you look at the trade by partner, you see the EU is about 18, Mexico 16, Canada 14, China 11. They are all on the upper scale. So the big players are getting hit hard with the tariffs. So the long and the short of it is there is going to be more upward pressure on all of the inputs that we have out there. So it's, again, demand is weakening on the discretionary sort of tip of the spear ones. Pricing pressure is not going away, and it's masked. So that 2.7% de facto is really higher. If you look at if everybody planned perfectly in their business, it would be a much higher rate. So that is where we are at. I will turn it back to Pamela.
Well, any questions before you get away too quickly? Any questions for Ted or Dr. Bonner?
Ted,
Yes.
do you see that the cruising industry, since they went from zero, their numbers absolutely are going to be over year, but flatlining at some point?
Yes. I mean, eventually it will. Yes, and you're seeing it on. Well, you see the initial. I talked about Norwegian, which Norwegian is largely irrelevant to us, but
Right.
they're the canary in the coal mine. The fact that they are struggling, they're sort of the weakest one, and they're now competing with MSC, who's bought a bunch of ships into Miami. That's sort of, when you're dealing with sort of the lower end product lines, they're starting to suffer. So that indicates that is going to start moving up, to say, as people feel less certain in their economic outcomes, it goes down. And the thing that about gross domestic product, the one thing to remember, 68% of gross domestic product is consumer spending. So what is going on in our minds and how often our wallets come out of wherever we keep them, that is really what's driving the economy. It's always driven the economy. We've been, sort of defying gravity for a long time because we have money, we're spending money, and it sort of keeps rolling.
Yeah, I read an article the other day that California, New York, and Nevada's down 15% already on the tourism.
Yeah, Las Vegas is taking it on the chin for sure.
Yeah, there's
But again, you think about discretionary is to say, well, I spend, Las Vegas mentally is a splurge community. You say, hey, I'm going to go there. I'm going to do these things because I got some money in my pocket and I'm feeling good about life. So I will go. There's a risk I'm going to do that. But things are expensive in Vegas. So you start to see discretionary spending going down, and airlines, hotels, gambling, all of that, that's the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And then there's the body is going to follow the head.
Mhm.
And that's, I say, I don't, I just want to characterize what we are likely to see. I'm not sort of, good, bad, or indifferent. The bad news is tougher economic times are coming. The good news is we are at the higher end. And so we will be less impacted because discretionary income among rich people is not going to be down among lower income, not be the same as lower income strata. That's
makes sense.
what I got.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Ted. All right, marketing update.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ted, for always making research interesting. All right. So I'm excited because I'm here to share with you the highlights for this quarter's initiatives, which reflect our ongoing efforts to elevate Greater Fort Lauderdale brand, drive engagement, and support our partners through impactful actions, strategic collaborations, and measurable results. In June, we brought the energy and vibrancy of Greater Fort Lauderdale to IPW in Chicago, with multifaceted presence that included an immersive activation zone, a dynamic press conference, and a well-attended luncheon. I'm not sure if you all know, but people generally sneak out during the lunch and they stayed for our announcement, and this is why. So our goal was clear: showcase Greater Fort Lauderdale as a premier travel destination and build momentum for IPW 2026. The activation received engagement and positioned us as a standout amongst other destinations. Last month, we successfully hosted the Dine Out Lauderdale partner event with a high-profile reception at Mastro's Ocean Club. This launch event brought together over 150 partners, media, and influencers, reinforcing our support of local culinary talent and attracting a widespread attention to the program. Here's a highlight of that event. We're thrilled to report over 140 restaurants are participating in this year's Dine Out program. And we're already garnered 100,000 web views. The program just launched on Friday. This strong performance reflects the appetite for culinary tourism and the effectiveness of our promotional strategy. Our partners have stepped up too in a big way. From social media content to in-restaurant promotions, we're seeing active engagement and creative participation, helping amplify the program's reach and visibility. We engaged 7 paid influencers with a combined following base of 2 million and an overall campaign reach of over 15 million. This influencer strategy continues to yield significant returns in awareness and engagement across digital platforms. As a part of our new Guess Who's Coming to Dinner series, we hosted 6 local influencers who collectively reached over 256,000 followers. This micro influencers are helping us drive localized interest and authentic buzz around the program. Our PR has generated wide media coverage across multiple platforms, including NBC, ABC, The Sun Sentinel, Boca Magazine, and many others. The visibility reinforces our message that Greater Fort Lauderdale is a culinary destination worth exploring. We also expanded our reach through exciting collaborations. One recent highlight, a scavenger hunt with Inter Miami CF, which generated over 20,000 views and drove significant fan engagement. We coupled that with a strategic partnership with Spirit Airlines, launching Fly Away to Fort Lauderdale program. This campaign tied into our Dine Out promotion and offered travelers a chance to win a trip to Greater Fort Lauderdale, including airfare, accommodations, and a curated dining experience. This partnership not only extended our reach into key markets, but also spotlighted Greater Fort Lauderdale as a desirable and accessible destination. Looking ahead, we're preparing for the August 14th Partnership Summit with a focus on mobilizing for IBW 2026. We have 6 robust sessions planned and are pleased to welcome key attendees from U.S. Travel and Brand USA to share their experiences. This summit will be a rallying point for aligning our partners and preparing to shine on a world stage. As you can see, we're not only generating results, but we're also building strong momentum heading into 2026. We look forward to discussing how our strategic marketing plan will support our proposed $10 million budget and help us reach new heights in the year ahead. Up next, our partners at Spark will walk you through our research results, new campaign, and the strategic plan.
I have a question.
26. Okay.
I saw recently there was a major cutback in funding for Brand USA.
Mhm.
Does that impact us?
It doesn't impact us directly. I mean, of course, they have their budget is cut. But for us directly, we do some partnerships on the international side with Brand USA. We'll continue to partner with them as we build out IPW planning, but they're moving forward and have the budget to proceed at least for the next year.
I got a question too. You mentioned the IPW, it was the workshop.
Partnership summit.
Okay, so can you go into that a little bit?
Sure. So we normally do our annual partnership summit. This year, we're focusing on IPW because we know how important that is to the industry. And we want people to learn how they can partner with us and get involved in IPW. And we haven't had an industry-wide, community-wide outreach. So this is an opportunity for people to come hear from U.S. Travel, Brand USA, and our leadership team on how to partner with us for IPW.
Okay, are we gonna lay out what we've been working on?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. And there's panels there or something.
You're on it.
That's what I'm trying to understand.
No, I'm on the panel, but I'm.
Yeah. So there will be panels that will highlight everything from.
You give me an update on what I'm gonna be speaking about.
Yes.
Okay.
We will make sure that.
Thank you. All right. So Spark is gonna, any other questions before we go to Spark? Great. Thank you.
Sure thing. Have a note here, parking validation and information desk, so if you need.
Okay.
And now we make Cam stand up here and talk the whole time, but we're gonna share the responsibility this time. We are really excited because this is, I feel like a culmination of a lot of work we've been talking about with you all for a long time. So the first piece we want to go into is the comprehensive amount of research we've done heading into this brand positioning process. So back in February, the first thing, oh, it's not sharing. There we go. It's got a little lag. A little lag. Okay. Back in January or February, we conducted consumer research, about 2,000 respondents across 5 different segments. This is a mix of visitors to Broward County, non-visitors, people who visited Florida, but maybe not us, as well as non-visitors, to really get a sense of what do they think of us? What do they know about us? How do we compare to our competitive destinations? And, you know, a lot of the findings were a good validation, I think, of some of the conversations we've had here, some of the suspicions we've had, and good to also sort of understand what our strengths are. So first thing was low unaided awareness of Broward County as a beach destination. So this is done by asking, think of beach destinations across Florida, and we had very, very low recall as being somebody that was actually mentioned. So that's opportunity number 1. The other challenge is we know we very much compete with Miami and the Palm Beaches as our 2 biggest competitors, especially the ones nearby. And so the other opportunity is to create differentiation, because right now we are seen as relatively the same as both Miami and the Palm Beaches. And so we're not really standing out for our own distinctive point of view from a consumer standpoint. The other piece, and this is really more from a visitation perspective, like how is that perception of us really impacting visitation? And in the last year, the state of Florida, visitation went up. Miami went up, Palm Beaches went up, and we went down by 2.5%. So that lack of clear distinction is really impacting our ability to perform. And so this is very much an acute focus for us in terms of turning that around. And then for those who are really familiar with Broward County, Greater Fort Lauderdale, one of the other opportunities we have is that we've got to really emerge from neutrality, right? They know about us, but we're not really giving them a story that's like, I want to choose Greater Fort Lauderdale instead of maybe considering another destination in Florida or maybe another beach destination altogether. So that's another opportunity for us as well. And then what we're also seeing is that what the things that our current brand platform is built on is not necessarily enough to provide that distinction. So some of the things that we've really been focused on, a lot of our competitive destinations are getting credit for some of the similar things. So we've got to kind of zig when everybody else is zagging, is really what the data is showing us. And so, and as Dr. Ted, so this is sort of like the culmination of how they see us right now. On top of that, we're also focused on a lot of the things, the external factors that Dr. Ted just went over as well, right? Potential economic recession, increasing cost of living and impacting purchase patterns, some of the geopolitical factors that are impacting international travel, and then also, you know, realistically looking at other competitive destinations that might be telling a more compelling story, maybe a little bit more appealing from a financial perspective. One of the other pieces that the research showed us too was we really wanted to very clearly define who our traveler was. And this is a really great thing for us. So we've really narrowed it down to 2 profiles that we really over-index for. The first one is the luxe leisure seeker. So this is an audience that's very much in the luxury category. They tend to be a little bit younger, and they travel often, despite being luxury travelers, with family. They are looking for the types of things that we really have to offer here. And so while in the past we may have been a little hesitant to lean fully into luxury, this research actually shows us that's okay, and we're allowed to do that. The second group is also somewhat luxury travelers. They're really looking for more experiences, so cultural experiences. They tend to not travel with kids, also tend to be a little bit younger and wanting a little bit more of that soft adventure. So not, you know, trekking with a backpack or anything like that, but airboat rides and some of the things that are a little bit more laid back adventure. And so, you know, the commonality between those 2 is it's okay to lean into luxury a little bit more. The price points that we really have to offer actually are a point of strength. Those are the types of experiences that these two groups are really looking for. So for us, when we're thinking about what is our new story, who are we really trying to appeal to? This clarity on these two audience groups is really important because we are very much in the luxury travel category, and we can feel okay to lean in a little bit harder to that as we think about the way we tell our story. And this is sort of a reinforcement of some of the things that Dr. Ted had shared too. The luxury category right now, despite all the things that are happening, remains strong. Right. So the luxury travelers are still planning to travel just as much, 3 to 4 trips, a year. We're looking at even the rates of luxury hotels versus budget and economy hotels, and budget and economy is not performing as well as luxury. And 83% of the luxury travelers are still planning the same amount of travel, if not more, despite any concerns around the economy. So we're doing really well in terms of the luxury traveler right now across the travel industry, and knowing that our audiences are in that luxury travel category gives us more confidence to move forward. So all of this to say, and this is a very comprehensive study, trying to get it down into about 10 minutes for all of us. But this tells us, as we're thinking about how we choose to position the destination, we really have to focus on telling a distinctive story so we can increase that unaided awareness. We've got to separate ourselves from the pack in terms of the competition. We need to be very thoughtful about narrowing our storytelling without trying to be all things to all people, but really lean into those two audiences that are really our ideal audience, leaning into luxury with doing that, and then also looking for new markets to explore. So with all the things that are happening with international travel, we must protect our domestic core markets, but it also tells us there's an opportunity to look outside of those to see where else we can mine for those ideal travelers. So all of this really tells us we have to create a very ownable and bold story. And so that's really where the positioning. So this is a lot more than just a campaign. We've developed a new position for the destination, and it's really focused on the things that we have the right to own as a destination that allows us to really differentiate. So I am actually going to turn it over to Elliot to walk through that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
That's okay.
So go ahead.
Okay, so my first question is with regards to Fort Lauderdale not being recognized as a beach destination. I find that hard to understand because we were known as the spring break capital at one point. And we did fight to get away from that, but how we're not a beach destination just kind of blows my mind. So I don't know what the data was on that, but that's really. And then in terms of our occupancy going down versus Palm Beach and Miami with cruising going up, and I know Miami has cruising as well, but like the numbers just, for me, they don't add up. So those are my two things that I'm just kind of.
The visitation data is the visitation data, right? Like, so it was a year-over-year comparison, and it's how we performed in 2024. Because again, the research was done back in February.
Okay.
So while everybody saw a lift, an overall year-over-year lift in visitation, we saw ours go down year-over-year. Overall is the destination. So it just tells us that there's, it's not sort of a macro level thing. It's something really for us to focus on. In terms of the beach destination, the way the questions are posed is name a beach destination, the first beach destinations that come to mind. Some of them were in Florida.
Mhm.
They were not us for the most part. Some of them were outside of Florida. And so that's really the unaided part of it, with a little bit more prodding in terms of, because there's the aided awareness piece of it. And it's like, yes, we do know when we go down the nudging the respondents to say, okay, thinking about Florida or thinking more about the East Coast of Florida, then we start to show up a little bit more. But even when we do show up, the perception for us is like, yeah, that sounds great, but I'd rather go here. And so those are all things that are not a criticism. It's just we've got a lot of competition that we have to really separate from. And right now our story is not giving us that ability to kind of differentiate and create preference for us. And so that's the job that we have right now.
So do you think that our issue with the questionnaire and the survey is people just don't know us, meaning, let's be honest, you pick up any Wall Street Journal, Forbes, they say Palm Beach, they say Miami. Never, ever have they said Broward. They may say Fort Lauderdale. So is it more of a brand issue, meaning that we put out so many things, little bites of Pompano Beach, Fort Lauderdale Beach, Hollywood Beach, that to the consumer, it's just another beach in Florida and it's not a destination. Could that be any merit to that?
Yes, I think you're definitely, and that's what we're trying to solve for. I think that we have, again, because we've had a very wide array of audiences we've been trying to reach, we're saying a lot of things to a lot of different people. And so what the research is really telling us is we've got to really clearly stand for one thing that we can own and talk specifically to the audiences that care about what we have to offer. So it is less about spreading the message and spreading our focus and really, really narrowing down and creating something that's like, yeah, that nobody else can say that. And I think what's very difficult is, look, a lot of destinations, Miami can say some of the same things that we say, and just then same thing with the Palm Beaches. How we deliver our story is really where we have to hone in with specificity.
I mean, again, I think that that's a critical issue for us. I mean, it's a crime that we just won the national title for hockey and nobody knows where it is. Is it Sunrise? Is it?
Because they say sunrise.
They say, is it Fort Lauderdale? I mean, if we don't address this issue, I'm sorry, but this is like the fourth marketing company that's come in that's told us the same freaking thing. Okay. I mean, with the same thing. No one knows who you are. No one doesn't understand you. I was just watching national news. David Muir switched from Channel 10 to Fox. He went on, he's welcoming the South Florida community. He talked about Palm Beach. He talked about Miami. Didn't talk about Broward, he said something about Fort Lauderdale, but didn't talk about Broward. So this is a treadmill that if we don't get to the root of the cause, we will never get off, in my opinion. But I'm done with my rant.
You said the luxury and the experiential piece are younger. What is that age?
It is mid to older millennials is really kind of the core of both of
So what
those
is that age?
particular groups. What's the age range now?
It's a
30
45.
Yeah, 30 to 45-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it.
So with families, maybe, some younger children, some older children, not necessarily with kids out of the house yet. But that's not to say we don't have travelers on either side of the spectrum. It's really just the core of those two particular groups.
Yeah.
And I would say on the experience seeker side, it probably tends to be a little bit on the older side of that range versus the ones with families.
And I think what you're showing with everything we're hearing, to kind of see what Tim said, is I think one of the things we've been dealing with is when I say politics, I'm talking about local politics, where we have to take care of how many cities do we have? And, because, and that's too much. That's where we're spreading our way too thin. And we've known for years, 80% of people that travel here are coming to the beaches.
Yep.
That's not a mystery, guys. Okay. Now, this whole branding thing that Tim has been, raising the flag for, we've got to deal with that. Because when you look at it, unfortunately, the county commissioners, there's no one other than one of them that's actually on the beach area. And so we're running up against that, and they don't understand the economic impact of that to the destination. And I think that's part of what we need to educate them on. Okay. Quite frankly.
Michael, you get it now?
Yep. So how does this pivot through season? We're very seasonal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understand the luxury and all that stuff. Okay, luxury runs from December to maybe April and it's over. So how do we pivot from that? Because if you're setting that same message off, you can be scaring off a different audience at the same time.
I don't want to take too much away from Cam's section, but just to tell you a little bit about that's really where the new market opportunities really come into play. And so we've worked very closely with Dr. Ted to identify certain markets that are warm weather agnostic that are maybe landlocked, that are not necessarily markets, domestic markets that we have been really shopping in for travelers before. So we are proposing for this year, diversifying the markets that we're fishing for travelers in, because the international landscape is completely different and we have to really start looking at new patterns. So protecting the core, but then exploring opportunity markets. So that's a part of the seasonality play that this new strategy will allow us to have.
Yeah, I had one question. On the two audiences that we're looking at, do we know what percentage they are of our visitor currently? So we know that growth potential, like if we're going to put a campaign against that, what's the potential growth of that? You know, what that audience, you know, could aspire to be for us?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Let me go back into the data because I think we truncated this, and let me try to pull that for you. I will say that the profiles were done based on the core audiences that we are getting. And one additional piece of it is when we get visitors here, we have an 80% return rate, which is really, really high. We've got a high level of loyalty. So one of the other pieces with fishing in new markets is if we get them here once, we're pretty confident we can keep getting them back. And that new traveler is really what's going to move the needle on visitation and kind of protecting us for the long term. But I will follow up with you on that data.
I have one more comment.
Yeah.
When you say the luxury, right? We have to understand that in our destination, Broward County, our luxury is dramatically different than Miami luxury and Palm Beach luxury. Now, the people have the same resources or similar resources, but their approach is very different. If you sit at City Center, I just did this last week. You go to City Center at 4:00 in the afternoon, people are dressed up to the nines all the time. Okay. You go on the corner of Los Alamos Boulevard on a Friday evening, you will see shorts and flip-flops and leisure wear more times than people dressing up. And if you go to Palm Beach, it is way different. And I think our opportunity is to explain our luxury as it is here, because if you're marketing to a certain and you're giving the glitz and glamour, that's not us.
Yeah.
And people who are attracted to that are going to be disappointed. Okay. And I think people experience luxury here in a very, very different way.
So hold on to that thought. Yeah. Hold on to that thought, because that's a big piece of what we're saying. What do we have the right to own?
Right.
And our version of our luxury and the product that we offer is the thing that we have the right to own. And so Elliot's going to show you how we're going to bring it all together.
Okay.
You were off by one slide before. This one, perfect timing. Oh, I can't. Amazing. Before I dive into the new brand stuff, I think you guys know this, but just to reiterate, because this is conceptual right now, you're going to see pictures of things that were made with AI, or maybe even some destinations that are not Broward and Greater Lauderdale. They're just for reference to show some of the tone, the direction that we're planning to go before we make everything. So just know if you see some of those things, they're going to be changing over the coming months. This is to give you the overall direction. And so what are some of the things, just as a recap, that influence this new direction? Emerging from neutral, these are all the things that Delaney talked to. Leaning into Lux and family, owning our truth. This is something that we've heard from you guys throughout our conversations. We really want to lean into something that is not just the blanket of luxury or the blanket of family and experience, but our own version of that in Broward County. And it's something that we've witnessed and seen ourselves, and something that we're really excited about. A piece of what our luxury is and what we think, and you'll see in here, is this new version of luxury that's about experience and about time and about just the way you're living your life. Like there's a sense of the people here, I think, you know, in talking to you guys and experiencing it for ourselves, of like, you haven't figured out here in Broward County and in Greater Fort Lauderdale in a way that maybe those in Miami or Palm Beach don't, because they're chasing other people. And here there's just an enjoyment. There's a joy everywhere you look, and people are doing it right. And so we want to borrow a little piece of that, because people should be getting that for those 3 or 4 day trips, those week-long trips. And so we think that that's tapping into a bigger trend that we're seeing in luxury as a whole, but that aligns really, really strongly with what we see here in the Greater Lauderdale area. So building upon that, something we heard loud and clear from you guys, the idea of the water is something that is huge here in Lauderdale. And yes, the beach, we've maybe gotten away from it a little bit. We want to own the beach more, but add to it with this idea of the water, because in most places water divides, but here it brings people together. In Greater Fort Lauderdale, the water connects us to communities, new experiences, to what's next. Kayak to coffee, boat to brunch, Here, the beach is just our welcome mat that then introduces to so many other water experiences. And why is that important? Because there's this concept of blue mind, which is suggesting that being near, on, in, around the water, it literally changes your physiology. It changes the way that you feel, the act, things you experience. You feel more connected. And this all features and ties back into that idea of luxury and this new idea of luxury, wellness, things I'm sure you guys are all seeing a ton of. Quick little vibe check here. Smell the sea and feel the sky, let your soul and spirit fly. That's a lot of what this is about, to borrow from Van Morrison. That's what this feeling is. That's what that blue mind is. And we feel like there's a huge component of Lauderdale, Greater Fort Lauderdale, that is this. So what are we trying to do? Very simply, we're trying to go from being just another beach destination to owning the water. So yes, beach, but water more specifically, because that's something that people aren't really owning. And there's been bits of it in our history, especially with, the Venice of America and things like that. But it is something you fly in, you're over the water, you see the beach, you go in over marinas, it's around you everywhere, and it connects all of those communities. So our positioning is we own the water. We are more than just another beach destination because Greater Fort Lauderdale isn't just surrounded by water, it's shaped by it. Defined by 300 miles of navigable inland waterways and 24 miles of golden Atlantic beachfront, the region flows from ocean to Everglades with bays, inlets, and the intercoastal in between. Here, the water doesn't just frame the experience, it moves through it. From airboating through the Sawgrass to kayaking past waterfront masterpieces. This is a place built for discovery. And what emerges is more than scenery. It's a naturally connected, deeply welcoming culture that spans all 31 municipalities. No other destination delivers access like this or the spirit that comes with it. So this is our positioning. This is what we want the brand to be all about. And then the next piece is thinking about, so how do we take that positioning and turn it into a consumer-facing tagline and also a brand? So the tagline that we're moving forward with is never lose your splash. And we think that this really encompasses the joy, the feeling that you have here in Broward County and Greater Fort Lauderdale. It connects to this idea of being near the water in all of its varied forms. And it allows us to show how our new audiences can really connect with our destination in a way that they cannot in others, including Miami and Palm Beach. So never lose your splash. Life got serious, but play didn't go anywhere. Folks just stopped looking. We were made for the water. We come alive in the water. Then we grew up, bought planners, and started to use phrases like circle back. Somewhere between the PTO requests and the color-coded carry-on, we forgot how to cannonball. We let joy become optional, clean, quiet. Greater Fort Lauderdale is where it all rushes back, where spontaneity still lives in liquid form, and the water doesn't stop at the beach. Water runs through our veins and is part of everything we do. From water taxis to airboats and dockside meals, the area has amazing beaches, but even more to dive into. The water welcomes everyone and has a funny way of connecting and awakening them to the joy that should never be lost. And so what we love about this is it connects to our positioning, but it's also empowering to consumers. It sort of politely questions, the daily grind that we know eats away at all of us. And this is the place through the water that allows you to get back to who you really are, to have those moments, those experiences that you love and that you're going to cherish and remember. So yes, it's a tagline. Yes, we will show you a campaign in a second, but what we also think is super important is that this carries through everything we're doing as an organization. So operationally, when we're thinking about things like plans, how do we integrate the water and this idea of never lose your splash into what we're doing in that area? For media, how does it affect our media? Maybe our media moves and bends around corners. It's more impactful partnerships, mesmerizing placements. It's all about creating that splash, connecting back to that water. Our tone, I mentioned this before, we really want to have a little that sort of Zen, got it figured out type of vibe, talking to somebody who is doing it a better way. And you're like, I want a little piece of that. And then finally, the branding, we want to create the sense of movement. So it's inspired by the water itself, but it's not just something you see, but something you feel. And hopefully we'll show you that in the campaign elements. So the first piece of it is the video. And so basically what we're doing here is we're taking a whole bunch of different moments, these individual vignettes of experiences that can and should happen all across Greater Fort Lauderdale, especially on the water. And then we'll take those individual pieces and turn them into a larger anthem. So this first one that we're going to show you.
Before you show,
One of those.
I just want to ask one simple question, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's been bugging me ever since you started showing the tagline. What is the name of the destination that we're promoting?
It's still Visit Lauderdale.
Thank you. You know that it's in the inside here, you say Greater Fort Lauderdale. And then, so I just wondered, because that
Yep.
mismatch sort of, so
The
to,
logo is Visit Lauderdale, and then when we refer to it as a place, it's Greater Fort Lauderdale.
So David, are you confused by our brand? Is that what you're saying? Because I am too.
it's nothing that I'm confused. No, I'm looking for the future
Legitimate-
direction.
It's a legitimate question, and that's exactly what I'm.
It's just the naming of what the campaign is gonna do. I didn't want to see it here until I heard it from you first, but go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Absolutely. Okay, so this is one of the vignettes here, and as a reminder, what we're trying to capture in those is this idea of never lose your splash. So we want to see these splash moments and make you kind of think like, yeah, you know what, that's right, because it's more than a tagline. It's meant to be a reminder, a rallying cry, a point of view that says joy, real, messy, unfiltered joy never leaves you. You just forgot where to find it. Greater Fort Lauderdale brings it back through water, through play, through the unexpected. And that's what the heart of this campaign
It's
is.
so messy, Ron. You should be high.
Fair point. Okay, so this is called Handstand. So imagine opening on a shot just like this. It's a portrait of a woman underwater. You sort of see her hair maybe in slow-mo going through the water. And then you see another woman. She's also underwater and they wave to each other. The VO comes in and it says, think about it. Suddenly the camera rotates and you see them sort of turning around and you realize that they're both upside down in a pool. And then the VO comes back in. When was the last time you did a handstand? The camera comes back and you see their little feet popping out of the water. You see the beautiful destination. And then you see the super never lose your splash. So there's just this simple thought, this simple moment of like, when did we as adults stop doing handstands? Well, we don't have to stop. In Lauderdale, it brings that out of you. And so we want to bring some of those surprising, interesting moments where we're really reimagining and re-encouraging people to find their splash, to get their joy back, and how Lauderdale brings that out of you. So as I mentioned before, we'll take a lot of those different moments and turn them into a splash anthem. Here's an example of what that could be. And so in this one, we're opening on an older woman. She's on the beach and she's lacing up her sneakers. The VO comes in and says, you used to run just to feel the wind. You see her taking off on the beach. The hair is going wild. She's grinning and she's excited because she's remembering something as she's running past the hotel. Before calendars, before comments, before it all just got boring. So then we see the handstand of another moment. Somebody at a hotel, they're doing the handstand, they're crashing, they're laughing, having a great time. The VO continues. I mean, when did we get so good at not having fun? We go back to the woman, we see her, she's running past a dog that's shaking, kids are laughing, they're having this great moment on the beach. The VO continues, joy used to be the goal, not the mess to clean up. We go back to the older woman, she's not slowing down, she's actually picking up speed, running, and then just jumps into the ocean. Now here you are, desperate for that moment, right there. You didn't outgrow this, you just stopped leaping. So when is your next splash? Never lose your splash. And so you can see we're sort of going through the destination in this, showing these different moments and reminding people that they can have joy, especially when they come and visit us. So then from a look standpoint, we are still Visit Lauderdale. We are still using our icon, but what we're doing is we're just trying to amplify everything we're doing. We're making it louder, we're making it brighter, we're making it more dynamic. So we're evolving the teal that we have some of the legacy colors in there, but we're really making more of a splash with the color that we have. And then we're trying to bring more personality, joy, excitement into the photography, into the imagery. And so the idea of luxury that we're trying to present here is not that quintessential version of it that's sort of stuffy. It's about enjoying, because that's the real luxury, is when you can enjoy every little moment. There's little details like the typography that we're evolving here to be more bold, to be more impactful, so that we get those people's attention and so that we can affect change. Another thing that we're doing is we're taking the logo and we're sort of reimagining it. in different ways that nod to different components of our water lifestyle. So you can see everything from, you know, the yacht culture here to the pool, the beach, even the Everglades. We want to make sure that we're connecting to it in a really ownable way, but also reinforcing the equity that we already have in our existing logo. And you'll see in the campaign how some of those elements come through. So I'm just going to click through a handful of these. We just imagined a variety of placements. We don't have them set of where they're going, but it just is meant to give you the vision of where we might go with the brand. So it's everything from just big, bold, impactful moments that are showing off the various forms of water, showing that joy, emotional connection of the spectrum of travelers that will be attracted to the destination. It's also really rethinking how we're writing and our tone and having some fun with it. Splash like nobody is watching. Splash happens, let it. Your ancestors paddled, you're stuck in a carpool. And so we're trying to politely nudge at people and, you know, make them reconsider what they're doing and think about taking that trip to Lauderdale where they can get their splash back. Looking at some out of home, these are just a couple examples here. Another one here, again, reinforcing just this idea of joy and the luxury behind it. And commenting on just daily culture, the things that people are that are top of mind with them. And, you know, everything is all about algorithms, but sometimes you just gotta just jump off and just go. Another thing is we're in this amazing building that's going to get even better in a couple months. And so we want to make sure that it's set up to promote that. And so, you know, a huge part of what this is becoming is it's on the water. And so what makes any meeting better? Being able to see it. And so, you know, we would love to put something like this in one of the conference centers or in the Las Vegas airport. So when people are going to a great meeting in Vegas, they might actually be like, actually, that would be better. I can see the water. I can enjoy the ocean, see the boats. And so wanted to make sure that the brand is working across a variety of different segments and for a variety of different needs. So that's sort of a snapshot of where we're going. And we're really excited about the way that we feel like it's ownable to the destination. That speaks to these new audiences. It's allowing us to focus our message so that we can have greater impact. And ultimately, it empowers the travelers of today and the types of things that they're looking for in the destinations that they're considering to travel to.
Michael, before you raise your hand, I go to call on you.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sure I'll have questions.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Well, and Tim, I wanted to sort of, you know, like going back to the question that you posed, which is, we've been talking about the problem for a long time. How do we really focus on differentiating? And I think the thing that we're really trying to do with this new brand, this new position is, in order to differentiate, we've got to make people feel something. And the emotional tone and the opportunity to create that emotional hook for people, that's really what we're trying to build in, not just with sort of the outward communications, but then also where we choose to kind of put that. So it's that emotional connection. It's not that we've been not telling our story, it's we haven't made them, given them enough of a feel, something to feel. So.
Does anybody have any questions?
Comments, Carol. So I'm gonna try to not be negative. I don't want to be negative.
Table. Gonna have to talk
louder.
Scream.
Don't want to be negative Nelly here, okay? However, I don't like it. First of all, I just got back from Nantucket last night, okay? So upscale destination. What I don't really even think about as a deep beach destination, but there's a lot of water happening up there for sure. And when I got back to the airport last night, and the airport, and that's another thing I think we have to address is our airport. I keep humming on that every meeting we have, but it was a madhouse. And what I wanted to feel when I got here was relaxed, and I didn't feel relaxed. And I almost thought that's where you were going with the campaign when you said we own the water, which I love. I love we own the water. We should own the water. But when you got to never lose your splash, all of a sudden I'm like, not a surfer. So it's like you have this upscale, you in the demographics that you spoke about earlier. It's like we talk about the upscale destination. That's kind of what we're trying to be. And then we're like surfing. And the first photo you showed was a surfer guy. And I get that we own the water, but for someone like me, I'm not a surfer. I don't really frankly know any surfers.
And if I think of the water, I think of, I want to go out on a luxury boat, or, you know, maybe there's people that scuba dive, they do the reefs, everything. I don't think of that. So I sort of like where you were going. I like the use of the logos, how you changed it up with the different images. The reference to meetings on the water, I think is fantastic. I absolutely think we should talk about that, but you just lost me at the tagline. And I just feel like it's disconnected from that luxury lifestyle. That's my call.
Okay, Ari?
Same thing. And I think we also bring in like our personal experiences where we are and, you know, Curtis visiting Nantucket. I do love the water. And I think that that's it. Looking at it from the luxury experience and the luxury person, and even the comment about the airport, to me, we are made of water. I mean, we are water ourselves. Water in of itself through elements is peace. As a destination compared to, you know, not compared, sandwiched between a Miami, woohoo, a Palm Beach, woohoo. We are that peaceful destination. Our water gives us the opportunity to experience things. And when you are, and Ina can chime in on this, and Tim already said, you know, our version of luxury is the flip-flops and the nice shorts and the polo shirts. And to us, there is that relaxed, peaceful feeling when we are here that water naturally brings as an element. But when you are truly at peace, joy comes. The experiences are elevated. Everything you do becomes part of you. And you don't necessarily have to make a splash. It's an inner, which is, again, I think going back to the data about us retaining our visitors here, people come back because that is what they feel when they come here. And hoteliers can say it. And I mean, I'm in the event, you know, I'm out with the public a lot. And that's what we hear is when people come back, they're coming back because of that feeling that they experienced. And it stems from being in a peaceful destination where there's no pretension, there's no anything. So the water, I was like, holy, sorry, crap, this is amazing. But yes, when it went to that other direction, I'm like, I don't see how that attracts that luxury person. Or if we're not talking about reaching everybody with it, how that can still reach anybody. And I'll stop.
Right. First, Michael, then.
Just to follow that, you know, I look at Miami and Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale very different ways. So Miami's a chase, right? People are down there to chase. It's an image, it's a snapshot, it's that type of thing. Palm Beach is inherited, right? It's an inherited rightful, you know, of wealth and stuff like that. It's very different. The thing about Fort Lauderdale, it's organic. Right?
What?
Organic. It's organic. It's casual. It's flip-flop. It just happens naturally. I mean, it just, you know what I mean? The way we meet people around here, the way people come here and want to live here because they're like, wow, this is such a great place. I vacationed. I want to live here too and be part of this because we're an organic destination. So that's how I see the three different destinations being separate. The couple concerns that I have is I always get concerned when we go after luxury because luxury is only a few months of our time in this market. And if we go back to data on luxury data, right? Even when we talked about last time in here, we talked about the Canadian market being down. Okay, we're going to pick up domestic, but we don't really have to worry about it. It was such a small percentage in our really seasonal months. Do you remember that conversation?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So if we're going after luxury, in a sense, then all we're trying to do is improve our ADR, right? We're just trying to improve our thing of our customer. And I'm worried about a disconnect there because it's only a certain amount of months there. We've got 12 months. 6 months of this environment is family. Summertime, 3.5 months, And then from President's Week all the way to the end of Easter is family focused, right? And I'm not picking on anything because maybe you're going to go down a different hole, but there's been no family really mentioned. I saw one picture of a child with a piece on here. So that family piece has been the root of our destination for 25 years since coming out of spring break. And it is important to have parents have a place where their children are going to have experiences and enjoy that beach and enjoy the beach for the first time and want to come back, right? I call it the Wally World effect. Where do you want to go, kids? I want to go to Margaritaville. So that's very, very important here. So I cautious the luxury piece on this. I think we all ran down that right after COVID because our customer was definitely more of a luxury customer and we were all elevating our marketing and everything there. And then all of a sudden, as that changed, we had to start really quickly changing our demographic to our summertime customer out of the Midwest. And you know, maybe they are taking Spirit here or Southwest and really just trying to put that family. How can I afford to get 4 people down to Fort Lauderdale, you know, and get a nice hotel on the beach and pay for the airlines and food and stuff like that. So I think we've got to concentrate on that customer. The other piece that Tim, I'm sure you would, is our F&B portion of what our experience is here. Should be a little bit more F&B experience on there of what we have to offer with our restaurants and all that type of piece on there. So those are my pieces on there. And more, but all right, family piece is something I worry about. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of it. First of all, I love the water. I don't, coming from the north part of the county in the beach area, we've been begging for water, Pompano Beach, Deerfield Beach. But the Never Lose Your Splash, I didn't feel any emotional connection when I saw those. And that says don't lose the kid in you, but it's not saying what you were saying earlier. The experiences are critical. And again, coming from not the downtown Fort Lauderdale proper, we offer lots of experiences. So do the whole county. And it didn't, standing upside down in the water with your feet up is just don't lose the kid in you. It's not have all these wonderful experiences that we can offer. So that's my thought.
I'll go. Okay. Well, hey, I liked it. I think it has some legs. Okay. Now, do you lead in with never as a negative? I'm not sure. Okay. That's to be determined. But, find your splash, all that. There's one thing that we all agree on is this community is based on water. Okay. And that appeals to luxury and appeals to families and appeals to everybody. Okay. And I think making it splash somehow references the fun in the water and that experience. I think this has a lot of legs for outside of season, meaning right now you look on the news and it's 100. We're no longer the hot place in the country. Okay. We are now almost a place of reprieve from heat. Okay. And I'm serious about that. And this could be a huge opportunity for us going into summer about, find your splash, right? Get out of the heat. So I think this has a lot to do with it. I think it's critical that for the IPW, will this campaign be baked enough to integrate it with the theme of the IPW? I'm asking. I don't know. I mean, we might be too far down the road, but we should, if we're going to go with this campaign for 26, I think we should lean into it a little bit for IPW when all the meeting professionals are here, so they kind of get a sense of what we're marketing to. That's a comment. But again, I mean, now, I don't think it's perfect, but I think there's a lot to do with it. I think the way you tied in different water experiences with the logo was great. And I agree, we could always use more emphasis on food and beverage for sure.
So I agree with Michael. I'm not saying we don't care about season, but season will take care of itself.
Right.
It usually does. If you're going to win, you have to win in the summer.
Right.
If any one of our hotels are going to win, we're going to win in the summer. And let's face it, it's all about hotels. I mean, there is locals that come in and help support during the summer, but it's about people staying in these hotels. And post-COVID, we saw people coming from other markets here, but that was because they had no place else to go. But that's where we have to win. And you aren't going to win just purely on luxury. Luxury, what it did is upgraded our community away from spring break. And sometimes we get confused on what luxury means because there's all different levels of luxury. And the family bit is, for our hotel is huge. And I didn't see a lot of kids up there playing. But if you take a look at Boca in that areas, their ads are always with families. And rich people have families, and the young mobile people have families. So I think there's got to be more elements about families and kids, and especially to win during the summer when the kids are out of school.
Do you not feel that thinking about water, hang on one second.
No, I think the whole water thing is really
Do
important.
you think that could play into families?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that's what it got.
Yeah.
Thinking too, just to interject, all very valuable feedback. We were anticipating, hearing from the group, and, this is, it's welcome because we can only, push it further. But I think luxury as a concept has been completely redefined in the last 10 years. And it used to be designer things and like that, but now the act of travel, that indulgence of taking care of yourself, feeling, that is luxury. So I want to be sure that sort of luxury as a concept is completely different now than maybe how we defined it before. And then, these are comps, just sort of trying to show there's a whole body of work that covers a lot more, but that Lux Leisure is the family. They are traveling with their kids, and even the experience seekers have them. They're maybe leaving them at home. So just want to double underline that families are a big part of this audience because they make up half of those two priority groups.
Stacy, to people, Stacy.
Let me also say that as it relates to luxury, so let's take the boat show, for example. Most of the people who go to the boat show can't afford those boats. They can't afford those yachts. They want to be near people who can afford those yachts. They want to feel like they're part of a class that is wealth adjacent. They may not be wealthy, but they are wealth adjacent. So the luxury market is more about aspiring to something that perhaps today you're not there, but you will be there, or you want to be close to people and rub elbows with people who are there. So that's really where it's not luxury saying, only stay at this 5-star hotel, or only stay at the 4-star hotels, or only go to the restaurants where you have to pay $150 for a steak. But go to a place where that happens and you can be close to it. You can feel like you're part of something that's actually maybe greater than you are. That's where luxury is these days.
Sorry, yeah.
Jim and then Ari.
I think they did a very nice job in positioning us differently from Miami and Palm Beach. So I think the whole concept of Fort Lauderdale, relaxed, etc., is excellent. I think the word luxury is a little dangerous, and I think Stacy touched on that as far as what that term, means and what it can mean, and maybe that's what's kind of takes us in kind of a way, because I don't think the spots were necessarily luxury either yet. I think also when you look at the creative, there's a set of creative, and then who is that media buy that you're targeting, right? And I think that's the difference in that. So if we're thinking it's an aspirational shopper, right, it means we're not targeting only Wall Street Journal reader. We're not only targeting, the high end. So there's a message, there's a message, and then there's the media channel. And I think we have to understand kind of how those relate together to then to be able to determine, okay, I'm seeking that family aspirational versus a true luxe, or we're going after the true luxe, right? What do we truly offer as a destination? How much of our offering is luxe and how much is not? So then we can determine how the message relates to the people we're talking to.
And I just think we need to understand that we can't market an idea, and when the guest comes to this destination, gets a totally different experience, right? Now, if you are local and you pick up a magazine, whether it's Las Olas magazine, Hollywood magazine, Westin, whatever, you open that up, it's nothing but luxury condos It's nothing but luxury brands coming to this destination, St. Regis, the Waldorf Astoria, the Ritz-Carlton residence. So you have all this other marketing dollars screaming that we're luxury, but yet our destination is going to speak to that. That doesn't make any sense to me. So we need to make sure we tie the true experience to what we're telling people to expect, in my opinion, man. And I agree that we have to integrate families because they're going to win the day all day, every day. Okay. And the high-end luxury consumer, you know, this destination is more about understated luxury than it is about luxury itself. Okay. And it will continue to be that. We have billionaires walking into restaurants in flip-flops and shorts, and they don't want to talk to you about anything. They just want to be themselves because they like this place because they can be themselves. And that's really, we need to blend the two worlds closely.
I like that point. Like Stacy's mentioned, you know, luxury's here, but I can't afford the yacht, right? I have a boat, but not that big. But we enjoy living
Right.
and being next to it constantly. Like I said, it's organic in a sense. And
It makes you feel safe too,
and
which is, it's all about that too.
and as a visitor, you can come do those things, right? You can be you can be on the edge of living that lifestyle, even though you don't have to pay for it 360 days if you stay for 5.
I just find it hard to explain to somebody as you're going to your hotel and I leave the airport and I drive over 17th Street Bridge and I see mega yachts lined up. Okay. How do I not say this is a luxury market? Okay. I mean, how do I not convince myself, oh my God, this is, you know, the second tier city, right? I just, we have to connect the two, in my opinion. And then
A couple of things. First of all, I want to lean into a little bit of what Ari said. So some of the images, you know, the surfer and all that stuff, but that other part of water is that calming piece. And I think we need to do that because I think when people travel, they want that. Okay. They may be going, what's that thing you got, that surf thing?
Lowrider.
Okay, good. Whatever that is, but you know, like to do that, I just want to lie and look at the water. Like when you come over that bridge on 17th Street, what I sort of see the yachts, but really what I see is that water view.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we have to blend those two aspects, so to speak. Even look, Tortuga is on the ocean. So you've got your biggest event happening here besides the boat show, which is obviously water, but then you've got Tortuga, which drives a lot of people here, but it's on the ocean. That's what makes it distinct. So I think we have to keep on taking those different experiences and people that are dining, that some people want the $100, whatever it is, right? Some people just want to chill with a pina colada, which is water, and liquid, and different aspects of that, but they just want to kind of be in their flip-flops by the water wherever they are. So I think that's what distinguishes us. It is casual, non-pretentious, water for sure, all these different experiences you can do, whether it's the Everglades and, you know, an airport, shore, right? Or just going to a spa and enjoying the hot tub, right? So I think that you could do that all with the water thing. I like that. I think the make a splash, that's for part of the market, but the other part of the market may not be as interested in making a splash as just chilling out. Okay. So I think those are the two things you kind of have to marry with your images, so to speak, so they have a sense of they can find themselves here, whatever they're looking for. Okay. So that's
So go Jim, David's last, and Jim, Robert, Dave. Okay, thank you.
Being in a hotel on the beach, I love the ocean. So that really helps. So it's a simple concept for me. And I see this every day, right? I see the sun comes up. I see people coming out of their rooms. What do? Maybe they have breakfast first, but what do? They go out to the pool or go out to the beach. They got an umbrella and they relax. Most people come here for the beach. It's a simple concept. We have a lot of families. A lot of hotels have a lot of families. We have a lot of families that come to Lagomar. We have, you've been there. We have a playground on the beach. We have a, shuffleboard. We have a little miniature golf. We have pickleball. We have, tennis. We have a lot of things for kids to do. The kids will say, we love Lagomar. We want to go back. The parents aren't saying we want to go, but the kids are telling their parents we want to go back to Lagomar. And again, if they're there for any length of time, 7 days, they're not going to be on the beach every day, or maybe they're on the beach for a little while, but then they go out to the restaurants. They go out at night. They go to the Everglades, they do Jungle Queen, whatever they do. But again, to me, it's a simple concept. They come to Fort Lauderdale Beach, they get up, they go out in the sun, relax at the pool, the beach, and they go from there.
First of all, I love On the Water. I think it truly embraces who we are because you almost can't go anywhere without seeing water. Don't lose your splash. I think it could have legs. It doesn't do a lot for me. But let me tell you where I think you had a home run. I was with probably 8, 9 of the biggest GMs last week having drinks. And all everyone talked about was what is the CDD doing to get group business into this market? And I think you had a home run with using water and meetings. And I can't emphasize that enough. I mean, that's all anyone talked about was we were having drinks. And the more drinks we had, the more they the more they
mentioned the $1 billion
meetings. Everyone's dying right now during the summer, and the only people who are winning are the hotels who have meetings going on.
Okay, David?
So I love that, Robert, and I definitely know, I do a lot of events that are conferences. People definitely want to be by the water. So that's agreed, a home run. I think there's something that I've heard being said, but not being pinpointed. I think that this may be a good way to clarify is if we encourage people that they can be themselves and not be judged in this destination. I think, like, I've heard it said in a lot of different ways, as you know, about not being pretentious and luxury and family. If you can come to a place to enjoy yourself while not being judged, you don't have to dress up, you don't have to dress down. You can just be yourself in this destination and have a great time. I think that's a message that we really need to let people know that exists here, because it's not in Miami. You're going to be judged every step. What are you wearing? How do you look? What's the shape of your breast? Whatever it is, it's going to be judged. And as I'm going to say, it was stated over here by Ari, you know, a little bit to the north, it's a different type of judgment because they're looking at, you know, what's your watch and what's your bag and stuff like that. But this place, you can come be yourself and you do not need to worry about anyone picking you apart. You can just be yourself. So that's my thought.
Yeah, so I'm in the target market. I'm between 35 and 45. I'm 40 to be fair. And I have 2 children. They're 15 and 10. And all of my friends, I don't know if you've seen, I don't know if you guys are on TikTok. That's how a lot of us plan our vacations now. So I don't know if you see it on there, but one of the videos says, I almost forgot that this was the point. And it's a waterfall in Oregon. It's the Grand Canyon. So that's what they're chasing with their kids, is those moments. So what came out of COVID is they're not having like regular birthday parties now. Sometimes it's a weekend vacation close by. So the kid chooses that instead of a birthday party with their friends. I have my friends doing it all the time. It's a weekend in New York. They went to Naples for the weekend. They're going to St. Augustine, like instead of an 8-year-old's birthday party, because that's what the 8-year-old wanted, was moments and memories and experiences. So to me, this campaign like sung to me, because I was like, if I see this, I'm connected and I'm seeing it. Not as many children as I would like. And I'm with Tim on the word never as one of the first words, like a negative word. But I think we used to have a campaign years ago where it was a tagline and then the last word changed. So it was water is soul, water is calm, water is spirit, water is, you know, splashy. And that last word changes. And so as the campaign changes, so does that emphasis of our water is all encompassing, but our water is calm waters, which is somebody at a day spa, and our water is delicious, which is something being splashed in a pan and cooking. And so you can take that element of the water culture. Now we put up the 6 logos, and I think at our opening night at IPW on the beach, we have like 6 zones. And I can absolutely see that tying into our IPW campaign, where as you move through the zones, the logo of our image changes. And some of it is earthen and some of it is the local water. And then you talked about the 31 municipalities. And I think this is a nice way to acknowledge all of them and tie them together and recognize that we are trying to span the space in terms of marketing, but using the tourism excitement of the water to bring it in. It's anyone who's connected with canals and waterways and all the way out to little old me out in the Everglades. Like I'm part of it too. And I feel connected even though I'm the westernmost point of this experience. I think that's a really nice way to nod to the partners, but keep in mind that we're only trying to elevate what's actually bringing people here on an airplane. And we have to be respectful of that too, right? But me, 40 years old, every ounce of this absolutely sung to me. And all my friends that are between 43 and 38 would all see this too and go, when did we stop having fun? When did we stop playing? I want to go play. I want to go play next weekend with my kids. And everything about water and summer is cooling it down. So for me, when I go somewhere, I'm going to want to play, but I have to be able to cool off. So we're going to cool off in the water. We're going to have time in the pool. We're going to get warm, but then the airboat's going to cool us down with the wind in our hair. So there's lots of ways for summer we can lean into that too. And yes, you're getting warm, but we're going to find ways to make you cool with all this water we have around us. I think that's a great way, but I think it's got good legs, like really good legs. And this is exciting. Well done.
Someone mentioned Tortuga. Did you mention Tortuga? I mean, if you look at that, Tortuga represents a lot of what this destination is, all right? I mean, first off, these people are paying $3,000 for a ticket, a lot of them, right? We all jack up our room rates to accommodate their $3,000 ticket. Then they're walking into our restaurants in sand and flip-flops because they've had a great time in it. And that's their luxury. And that is luxury, okay? The luxury can be the ability not putting on brands and being able to do whatever the hell I want, right? And I think that's what we are more so than, if we start to market luxury as the brands and things like that, people are going to be sadly disappointed. They're going to walk up and down Los Angeles Boulevard and not see one luxury brand shop anywhere. Okay, there's not even shopping. There's not even so that's not our luxury. Okay, our luxury is more experiential, and I think that's where and I think this campaign does a lot to articulate that, in my opinion.
And luxury sometimes turns people away because
That's
people are
right.
intimidated
That's
by
right.
it. So it just depends. I mean, the water factor, great, love it. I think it's who we are. The luxury, it has to be, casual luxury.
Yeah. So, all right. Well,
But we're talking about.
okay. So this was such a robust discussion. Canceling the new and old business. Okay. That, because we want to have your report too.
You do the plans.
Yeah, well, can I make a comment, please? This is Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, how are you? So, and I love the campaign as well. I saw it also as acceptance, welcoming acceptance in terms of the luxury statement that you can be anybody. And what Stacy was saying earlier and others were saying that, the whole issue about judgment. And so I just see Broward County as really being accepting of everybody, as opposed to the judgment calls that might be in Miami and Palm Beach County. And I was happy to hear the person who connected the water with the canals, because I was thinking of the comment about the other cities. And immediately I had already written down the 8 cities that have connection to not just the Atlantic Ocean, but to the intercoastal. And then the canals connect the western portions like Sunrise, Lauderdale Lakes, and Lauderhill. And then Miramar and Sunrise have their own little water spout. So I just thought it all really came together that way. And thought I think that we could really build on all of those themes to include the other cities who sometimes think they're not a part of it, but they are indeed. So I just wanted to make that statement.
So let's go back to the because I realized there was a second part to this, and then Stacy. Okay, and Stacy has an update for us as well. So keep moving.
Again, thank you all for the valuable feedback. It's super, super appreciated. I was going to share anecdotally. I was here a couple weeks ago, girls' weekend, staying at the Four Seasons, and all of a sudden I got splashed. And a grown man who was there with his wife, who dared him to do a cannonball behind me, did a cannonball in the adult pool at the Four Seasons in Greater Fort Lauderdale. And I just thought to myself, that's so validating of the idea that we're trying to convey. And it's not the literal splash, and in maybe some instances it is, but it's like that moment of, I'm here, I can be myself, I can throw caution to the wind. There is, Christina, that sort of personalized element to it in terms of, the splash could just be the emotion on her face. So just wanted to share that story because I thought it was
what's the word, serendipitous that we've been working on this, and then for that to just sort of naturally, authentically happen, it felt validating to sort of the spirit of what we're trying to convey with the campaign. So this is sort of turning insights into action in terms of how we're going to address the very real challenges that Delaney took us through. So obviously we've talked about creating audience relevance already, which is about how we're going to create story differentiation and distinction. And so I'm going to focus a little bit more about how are we going to address the visitation and market share head on. The current reality, it feels a little bleak, right? We have low unaided awareness as a beach destination. You're like, how? Some of our competitors have beach in their name. We don't have that luxury. It's a big competitive set. We're seeing declining visitation where others are seeing growth. But I think one thing that also came through in the research, and we've seen from Dr. Ted's data, is we have actually very high experience delivery. That shows in our 80% repeat visitation. We didn't cover it in the research section, again, trying to pare it down, but for people who come to Greater Fort Lauderdale, they have kind of low or neutral expectations and they come back highly satisfied. So everything that we do in the next fiscal has to be addressing awareness and market share, and we've got to broaden our audience. We can't expect to do a different outcome from doing the same thing. So in terms of our strategy and where we're going to be focused in the year ahead, number one is sharpening our focus. That covers three primary areas, right? We've addressed the audience. I want to, circle back to sort of our geographic market strategy and talk a little bit about the media, which also came up here. So this is, again, good news, bad news. Domestic travel is up. It's been up for a minute. There is high likelihood and intention to travel domestically, and people are just simply staying close to home. It is a sad story at the moment for international visitation. It is down substantially. And the US is one of the only, if not the only, destination that is experiencing those declines. The factors that are driving that decline in international cover the gamut, right? There's an emotional component to it. There's a functional component to it. There's a logistical component to it. And there are just simply external forces that are bigger than our marketing dollars can take on. So we've absolutely got to prioritize domestic markets. Delaney spoke a little bit to this too. We've got to identify new feeder opportunities, knowing a little bit more about our audience. Does that open up new markets that we haven't been to before? How do we look at seasonality and not just sort of blanket all, everybody the same all year round? We're going to be looking at all of those very strategically to make sure that every dollar that we spend is the work of many. And it's not turning our back on international. Obviously, we've got IPW coming. That's no bigger global stage for us. But we've got to look at markets that have maybe are a little bit less impacted by those external factors that we can control. So like a LATAM or a UK. This was something that we identified, I think, probably very early on in our discovery meetings, is we noticed there was fragmentation, right? We were spending a lot in a lot of places, and that was diluting our message. We made progress on that in this fiscal, but for the coming fiscal, we really are going to be spending with fewer partners. And by doing so, we're going to see, or we hope to see, a lot of gains. We will be seeking out custom solutions versus just sort of accepting off the shelf. We've got a new position, we've got a new story to tell. Where can we make the greatest impact with that? When we spend more with key partners, it gives us better negotiation power. We get better rates and we have more added value opportunities, and we plan to extend those down to our partners through business participation. We want to cover more ground, reach more people. We're looking for premium, audience-driven programs. And it's not just about the paid media, right? There is an element to making a splash that will give us PR and earned opportunities that help extend our story even more than our media dollars can do. Taking that a step further, when we think about spending more with key partners, we think there are some strategic alliance partners that can help us achieve our goals. I'm going to use TripAdvisor as the example here. But if you aren't aware, we built a accessibility hub alongside of them because we saw a need in the market that wasn't being filled. And I think people underestimate the buying power and the volume that accessible travel makes, not just those with the disabilities, but travelers who have them in their party. We approached them. They were like, we don't have this. We're embarrassed. We've got to build this. And so we built it together. And additionally, we amplified this with some PR, and the PR for our TripAdvisor hub got us over 500, I think it's 517 million impressions, right? So that elevates the brand because we're alongside TripAdvisor, who has great brand reputation. And it positions us as a thought leader in this space. So that's the kind of things that we're thinking about, that it's not that, it's not just the media alone, but how do we just get our name out there in more different, meaningful ways? Our second opportunity, not to beat a dead horse, but creating brand distinction, right? We've got an entire fiscal year ahead. How are we going to launch with impact? How are we going to sustain that? And what are the things that we're going to do in the day-to-day to prioritize the brand? We're absolutely taking a 360-degree approach. So we will have an integrated campaign. Like Elliot talked about, we're seeking out those dynamic media placements that just sort of meet you unexpectedly where you are, stop the scroll, if you will. We're looking for earned PR opportunities. But again, we want to explore strategic partners where we can combine our creative power to create more custom solutions, more dynamic placements, the things that are going to really get our brand out there. And because this is not just a campaign, right? We're reimagining sort of the brand from the inside out. We've got a lot of work to do beyond just the paid media. So we'll be investing in new templates and toolkits. We are going to be evaluating new channels to reach our priority audiences. We've got, to sort of overhaul all of our materials and bridge the gap between marketing and sales. So that's a big part of what we're going to be doing in the fiscal year ahead as well. And then the last is data-driven decisions. And, we believe wholeheartedly that if we can't measure it, we shouldn't be doing it. We have too big of a challenge to face in the visitation and in the awareness to not be tracking ROI on where our efforts are going. And that, again, that's not just the paid, but it's also like our resources and our time and where we're spending our energy. So we're thinking about the goals in sort of 4 categories. Obviously, 1, visitation; 2, strengthening the brand; 3, looking at our market share; and of course, 4, economic impact. We've worked with Dr. Ted to establish benchmarks for where we are today. So we've got sort of where we stand with visitors, where we stand with that unaided awareness, where we stand with market share, as well as economic impact. And I hope to be standing in front of you next year showing how we've moved the needle in the right direction on each of those elements. Lastly, we're going to show you sort of the budget in 2 different ways. We are looking at, a $10 million budget. This is by segment. So because, launching the brand, addressing our awareness and market share issue is our primary objective in the year ahead, the lion's share of the budget will be going to leisure. But I think it's super important to remember that rising tides lift all boats. If we're able to get our story out there, from a destination perspective, elevate the awareness and perception and preference, that is absolutely going to extend to our international friends, our meetings and conventions. And so, we think it's super, super important to prioritize the brand in the year ahead. Looking at the budget slightly differently from a channel mix perspective, I think the thing to point out here is that because this brand platform has an emotional storytelling component to it, we need to seek out media that allows us to tell that story. But we've also got to address the awareness. So we're going to be investing a lot more than probably we have in the past in video, because it does have strong awareness and it does offer that ability to tell a more emotional story, to connect that feeling of what you can expect and hopefully leave people feeling like I need to go there on my next vacation. So these are, we're still sort of early in the finer point of these plans, but that's strategically how we're going to be prioritizing our efforts in the year ahead.
I have just got a question on the slide, but so I see socials 3%. I see digitals 30%. So all social channels are 3%. What's, I just want to make sure. So,
No, this is the marketing budget.
right.
We have through our web host server, Simple View. They contract with a social media firm
Okay.
that is not in this budget. So
Okay.
the social media you see mostly will come out of the Simple View third-party vendor.
Okay. Because that's scared.
No.
Putting direct mail and social at the same
No, no.
end is,
You
okay.
Go.
Don't look at that.
no,
Okay.
go over
Don't look
here,
at the
Tim.
budget. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Are you segmenting this income component year? Because that's what I've been hearing around the table is we need business into this, shoulder, the summer and all that. So, but that's not showing here.
Right, so we're keeping it at the strategic level for this meeting. I think we will have a chance to come back to present some of the more tactical plans at some point, but yes, we are partnering with Ted, looking at seasonality. How do we launch? How do we sustain? How do we pivot through the year based on consumer behavior, what we're seeing, what they're telling us, so that it's not a set it and forget it. It's a, optimization.
So again, to flexibility, because you're going to touch on it, but we don't have much guidance on the budget, right? Moving forward. Right?
What do you mean?
Well, with what's going on with the state and whatnot, we're not certain that we're going to get 10 million, or are we certain?
It's
Contractually obligated. Okay.
5-year contract.
Okay. And as far as flexibility, when you say you're going to remain flexible, what exactly does that mean?
I mean, I think there are tried and true tactics that we know will move the needle, but I think we're going to learn a lot too. We're going to save some contingency funds so that we can optimize in the moment if an opportunity presents itself. So.
What are you actually asking us to approve?
That's what I'm getting at.
So that's what I need to know, okay, Melissa. We need to approve a marketing plan. That's right. Well, we have to approve a recommend. But is that what we're approving? Or what are we actually being asked to approve?
Recommend the whole budget.
Everything we just.
Concept and plan.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. So, do we want to have any discussion about that? The approval? So the idea is that we're approving
You can approve it conceptually.
the conceptual plan of something we're going to do with water. Whether we're never going to make us, whatever it is, make a splash,
You can
never lose
conceptually
it.
approve, recommend approval of a We Own the Water campaign.
Okay, that sounds a lot better. Okay.
But we're not approving the money part of it.
Well, you kind of are, because you're approving $7 million for social.
But it's-
You're approving $2 million for, it's 20%, so
Flexible. 7 million for social.
it's 71%.
For leisure.
Oh, leisure, excuse me. Leisure. I took a glimpse of it. So, yeah, so it's $10 million budget outlined by percentages of what they're going to spend. And I think they want, are we okay with that?
As long as we have flexibility with that.
That's right. And that's why we're going to make a recommendation. Someone's going to make a motion to recommend, we're going to do an ad campaign owning the water. Whether it's making it splash,
Conceptually.
whatever that is, conceptually. That's really all we're going to get here today. I mean, this is the first chapter in this evolving.
Progression.
Right. So
we're moving from everyone under the sun. No, we're not. Okay.
Just.
We're approving
conceptually.
water concept.
We Own the Water concept.
Got it. Okay.
Plan moving forward for next year.
For the next fiscal year.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay. Anyone like to make a motion?
Does anybody have any comments about that before we
We
make
have to get a motion first.
Would you like to make that motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Because I.
Second.
I'm sorry, someone else should make it because I'm.
So there's one- Okay. Is there any discussion about this motion? Great. You gotta look like it. You want to say something, but you don't.
I was using the water closet, so I missed.
Okay.
It's everywhere.
Okay, any,
I just want to ask you a quick, so we're just talking about creative concept at the moment, right? And then we'll come back with a full marketing plan that shows the spend against, travel trade and all these other things, right? The social, all of that's separate. At one point in time, we'll see the entire budget ever, or we only see the 10 million? Sorry, but the 10 million is just the advertising budget, correct?
let's.
Well,
That's
but you're the marketing advisory committee, so that's what you see.
We don't get to the input on the rest of it. So like the social part of it is a whole.
Yeah.
Do we know how much that total social is, just to understand? Because that's media. Even though it flows through a different company, it is media overarching.
Back to that slide.
You said it's only 3% there, right?
In a component, like Stacy's talking about, there's a big component and the two work very strongly together. You can't have one without.
We'll get that to you. I know it's tens of thousands of dollars out of a $750,000 contract that is spent on our web server.
But it's mostly organic.
Huh?
It's mostly organic with a little.
This is-
This is boosted. This is paid, right? But the other part is organic.
Also boosted.
It is boosted.
Also boosted.
So, 33 million going to digital, 2.5 million going to cable, 20 million going to partnerships. That's kind of like the rough outline of where they're going to spend their money. Now, I agree. We don't want a line by line. We want them to have flexibility to pivot, God forbid something happens, we gotta, so this is the general overview of what they anticipate spending the 10 million.
And it's just like a budget, like your budgets, things change during the course of the year, we
Mhm.
also.
Any questions?
I like the piece that you two are going to connect, meaning to understand the very seasonal part of this. Because a blanket marketing plan just doesn't work in this environment of our destination. So that is
We're
highly.
very aligned and we are targeting the locations that deliver in summer, messages that deliver in summer, all of that, that is happening as we speak.
It will be interesting. When I saw the group, there wasn't a lot of money there and a lot of us depend on a lot more on the.
This was like 5 million.
But I know it's a very, it's not something you get instant return on, but it's.
But you're also not seeing the group budget here. How much money we spend to bring groups here. You're not seeing that. This is just the marketing budget. So you don't see Candace, how many millions of dollars is in the group budget?
Group alone, is close to 2.5 to 3.
And that doesn't include the convention center incentive.
Correct.
So there's that money too, which helps.
And if you add sports in as well, sports groups, that's another.
And right, doesn't include sports either, which is huge you want to talk about group business, if you only want to talk about conferences, it's one thing, but the sports business is huge here. So if you add that on top of the group, on top of the marketing, you're talking about almost a $10 million,
$100 million.
8-figure spend on group alone.
So I think at our next meeting, I think it might be helpful as this evolves to kind of give us an update of where we end up with, so we can.
In October.
October.
It'll be October. I mean, we're people are buying season. I think
It'll be, is it October?
We have to vote on this thing.
So, okay, can we have a vote, please? What we get, there's second motion, all in favor?
Okay.
Aye. Do we need to take a roll call or are we good?
No, you can just ask if there's any objections.
Is there any objections? On Zoom? No, all right. Motion carries. Okay, approved. All right, thank you very much. Now, do you want to give us an update on where we are with our friends in Tallahassee and everything else?
I don't know how many of you follow what goes on in Tallahassee. You're probably smarter if you don't. But
Can you go to the mic?
Yeah. But this year, the legislature had a really hard time passing the budget by the end of the legislative session. And so they went into special session in June, where they ultimately passed a budget. In addition to that, they did some other things. And you might recall there was a whole conversation about getting rid of TDCs and getting rid of TDT and getting rid of real property taxes as a whole big package of tax reform. None of that happened this past session, but some other things did. So Senate Bill 2502 was passed by the legislature. It's a 154-page bill.
on page 124 of this 154-page bill, which was given to legislators 2 days before passage, there's a provision about how tax-funded resources can be spent. And we are, or not spent, and we are a tax-funded agency. The Tourist Development Tax funds the Convention and Visitors Bureau. And what Senate Bill 2502 does on this one page of this very large bill is it dictates words that we can't use anymore in if we are using taxes, and concepts we can no longer promote if we are using tax-funded resources. So we can't use the word diversity anymore in our marketing or in our conversations when we go speak on panels or talk to groups about the destination. We can't use the word inclusion or inclusivity anymore when we talk about the destination. We can't use the letters LGBTQ or LGBT, and we can't promote concepts that we can't use tax-funded resources to promote concepts that would suggest usage of those words. So, for example, we can no longer promote the concept of inclusivity. We can no longer promote the concept of diversity. We can't promote the concept of feminism. You can't promote the concept of anti-racism. You can't promote the concepts of social justice, many of which don't have to do with us, but obviously diversity and inclusivity is something that we have built the brand on. Everyone under the sun is our tagline. So when we have scrubbed our website, there's no more LGBTQ page on our website. There's no more inclusivity page on our website. There's no more articles that would suggest diversity or inclusivity on our website. We have practically gutted the LGBTQ budget because we can't sponsor events that promote diversity or inclusivity. We have slashed our multicultural budget by 2/3 because we can't sponsor events that promote diversity or inclusivity. We can't sponsor certain conferences that might come here. So, for example, the Women's Empowerment Conference, which was wanting to come here, we can't use our resources to incentivize them to come here, because when you look at the mission of that particular group, one could argue that it promotes the concept of feminism. So we are going through some pretty challenging times right now as it relates to the brand of the destination, to the point where the county attorney's office is debating whether or not we can use everyone under the sun anymore at all. Because individually, the words don't mean anything, but combined, the debate is, do they promote the concept of inclusivity? So part of what you're seeing here is as a result of the change in the law, where if we do these things that are now unlawful, it could trigger a state audit. And if you read the article, you know that State Doge was at the county last week, where the county produced in excess of 50,000 pages of documents for 20-year-old tech bros who are reading procurement documents now. And which include some of our stuff, by the way. And we are changing the plan. We are changing the plan. So as I said, so it could trigger a state audit. Elected officials can be removed from office and or personally fined for violating this page of the law. We are getting a lot of non-advice from the county attorney's office because federal law says you can't discriminate against certain classes and groups of people, sexual identity, gender identification, political affiliation, gender. But the state law is basically saying you have to discriminate because you can't use these concepts or promote events that promote these concepts. So we are struggling. And I just wanted to let you know that this is what we're going through internally. We are now sending any event that could be problematic to the county attorney's office for their advice as to whether or not we can fund it. Ultimately, I imagine the county commission will have to come up with some policy, but you will see different things moving forward out of us. You will see different visuals coming forward out of us, and we're not going to be using the words diversity or inclusivity anymore in anything that we do, because we would be violating state law.
Can we show, which is what they had in their graphics, Black people? Really? I mean, that's what this is coming down to, guys. It's like, you know, like even in their campaign, okay, you're showing things that seem to be counter to what the state is now saying.
Yes, but we don't feel like we cannot not show Black people.
I mean, that's all they've been saying to me.
Wait, let's not.
We're not going to get carried away. But,
Is that what they're asking us not to say? I think they're trying to tone down the whole LGBTQ. Isn't that what they're really going after?
well, I mean, I guess it depends on what your definition of inclusivity
Well, again,
is. And again, there's nothing in the law that defines these things.
right.
So because it's Broward, and anybody who knows the politics knows that Broward is always the sore, thumb in Tallahassee. We were the first ones to get doged. We are being very probably very conservative.
And I think that's
So we're
listen,
just being cautious.
I
We don't
think
want to
that
be
is the right approach. Okay, this is a hot topic, a hot plate, a hot potato, whatever you want to call it. And I just don't think, especially in hospitality, okay, we need to appeal to everyone and anyone.
Well,
Okay,
Thank you.
You can't appeal to everyone.
well, what I'm saying is, we don't need to be the tip of the spear in a controversial topic.
But yes, we're still going to show people we
That-
can't say people of color anymore, by the way. As someone who gets paid by taxes, I can't say people of color anymore. That's one of the
It's
expressions
crazy
I'm not
that
allowed
we
to
need to
use.
navigate.
So yes, we're going to show Black people, we're going to show brown people,
Thank
we're going to show
Yeah, we have
people
to show that.
who, we're going to show people who may be gay,
That's right.
depending on what your interpretation of the photo is. Or maybe they're just two guys who are good friends. But we can't we can't walk away also from who we are. I mean, we're a county of 2 million people. We're a majority minority county. Wilton Manors has the largest same-sex couples per capita of any city in the country. We can't walk away from that, but we have changed how we're doing business, and we are being much more circumspect about everything that goes.
And I'm certainly not saying we should walk away with it from that. Absolutely not. But what I am saying is that we don't have to draw a line in the sand and pick a battle that would be ultimately controversial for our destination and have a negative impact on all of us sitting at the table.
No, we're not. Having said that, I don't know that none of us knows if there will be something that would trigger the ire of the people. Who knows? We just don't know.
Stacey, as a legal workaround, again, not that I like to make waves, but because it is so core to our culture, is there anything against four partners getting together and creating an ad promoting diversity and inclusivity paid for by the partners, not from the money coming from Visit Lauderdale, of Friends of Lauderdale private campaign? Is there anything that we can do to work around it where we can still put money and funding into those things that are important to us as businesses and our destination, but not touching the coffer that's going to cause any issues? And can we maybe work to develop something, if it has to be privately, not at these meetings, not at this level, but there is something that still needs to be very important and core to supporting, women's empowerment conferences coming into town. And I have a strong belief that many companies at this table, besides my privately owned company, that would have no problem throwing our hat in the ring and saying, I will support welcoming this conference to the destination. And with my own money, I will contribute, whether it comes from, county or not. Maybe there's a way we can still do that.
That's a great idea. No, the law only targets local governments.
Okay.
Tax funded resources. So it doesn't target the private sector or private dollars. And that also puts us at a disadvantage because we're not a CVB that raises a significant amount of private dollars. We don't have membership fees like other CVBs do. So those CVBs can use those private dollars to promote all of these things. We don't have that. We just don't have that. So yeah, I think it's a great idea. And we can coordinate a message with you, but you can't use our images. Well, you could use our images because we're no longer doing,
And what about graphics that were created before the rule went into effect with other dollars?
So the law retroactively takes effect January 1, 2024. So what the law says is that we can't do anything inconsistent with state law. Now, last year, we didn't do anything inconsistent with state law, but because the law retroactively changed, what we did last year is actually inconsistent with state law, even though when we spent the money, it wasn't.
Okay.
So none of us knows what that means exactly. And while State Doge didn't go after Visit Lauderdale, it went over after other agencies, they actually looked back to 2019. So no, there's a whole lot of, from the county attorney, a whole lot of, well, it's legal. It's legal, but not, we're just not getting a whole lot of direction. And none of us at Visit Lauderdale wants to be the one to make these decisions because we don't want to be the agency that puts Broward County, even further in the crosshairs than it already is. So just wanted to let you know, there are pages and pages of memos that are flying between county attorney's office and administration. And we are the agency that is most impacted by this because we have built our entire brand on welcoming everyone under the sun. So you're going to see it less, but that's a trend anyway, a tagline trend. But whether or not we can even, so you'll see the logo a lot, but whether or not we can actually say it when we're working is something that we just don't know right now.
And so because we don't want to go through a whole year without a tagline, right? So will we determine whether we're going to be able to use that and come up with something new, or are we going to?
Trying to come up with something new. So
It's going to be something about water.
it was coming
It's
up with
about make a splash, you know?
So we'll go back to the drawing board on that, but it's not that we won't use it, but you wouldn't have seen it as much anyway, simply because of the trend of dropping taglines. And it's so small on most everything, whether it's on our business cards or even on the placard here, it's so small that it is oftentimes overlooked.
Yeah.
Having said that, the mayor's message at FLL uses it. Other agencies are using it now. People in the community are using it. Other NGOs are using it in Broward County. So we just don't have any, we don't have any definitive answers. But I wanted you to know that these are conversations we are having daily at Visit Lauderdale. That and this completely flew under the radar. Even the press hasn't picked it up yet. So and I'm sure these conversations are happening all over the state, but I'm not sure they're happening at the same level because we are Broward County.
Stacey, I just want to say something to you personally and to everyone that works at Visit Lauderdale. This conversation is actually bringing me to tears because it's what we have built this community on, regardless of the tagline, and that it's coming down this way where all the work that's put into it and you've put into it and made a stand for it and everyone around here, it hurts me. It personally hurts me. This is way beyond business right now. This is the core of who we are as human beings. And that you now have to go retroactively back and deal with this on a page that no one ever looked at. And quite frankly, I don't know who voted on it, but it's like, now I know you got to do what you got to do. We're going to do what we need to do. Okay. But it hurts.
Yes, it does.
But it hurts at the core of who we are as human beings. And as I look around this table, it's just, the LGBT community is a $1.3 billion tourism impact on this community. And we can no longer support it or promote it or fund events. That's what it's coming down to, guys. But that's $1 billion. This is not like but anyway, it's not going to undo what's happening unless we get it changed next go around. But I just have a lot of empathy for what you all are dealing with right now in the midst of trying to bring business into this community. This is way beyond bringing business into this community.
Thank you. We spent a lot of hard work trying to get everyone around the world to recognize that we're a community that is welcoming because everybody lives here from around the world. And I've never been the kind of person who lays awake at night and worries about things. This has kept, I wake up in the middle of the night and stare at the ceiling and say, how do we navigate this? How do we navigate this? And there aren't any answers right now. But I think about the people that this law targets and how they feel and how they must feel. Being singled out is somehow bad because they're, for what I just, that kind of anger. And when you come from a community that really does, I mean, as I listened to the conversation this morning, I heard a lot of, we welcome everyone and we want everyone to come here. And we're a community that has always said, be who you are, no judgment. And that's who we are. And that's what we've tried to convey in all of our marketing materials is that, we are the community where the official shoe is the flip flop and you don't have to wear your makeup when you're on the beach. And there's no judgment if you are walking down the beach and you're a guy in a dress, it was just one of those communities where just do what you want to do. You're not hurting anybody. And this is gonna, just change some of the ways we do things. And it certainly has provoked a lot of conversations about how we do what we do. But I want to, there are two other things I want to talk about that, if you don't mind. The county commission, before they broke in, do you have any questions about that? No. Okay. The county commission, before they broke in June, gave the national championship game. I know I'm not saying it right. It used to be called the Bowl Championship Series. It's not called that anymore. College football playoff national championship. Okay. The game is at the Hard Rock in January. And like they always do, they came to us and asked us for money. The TDC recommended $249,000. They went to the county commission. The county commission gave $1 million. So we're right now negotiating deliverables with the championship. It's basically the Orange Bowl committee, but they're also doing the championship game. That's that. And FIFA will be coming to the county commission probably in September, where they will be asking for $2.5 million. We offered them $249,000. And the reason we offer them that is because that's the amount of money that we can give them and we can sign the contract. From $250 to $500, it has to go to the county administrator. Anything over $500 has to be approved by the county commission, but they have to come to us first for procedural issues. They obviously weren't happy with us. I know that because I got a lot of emails from people who say, why isn't Broward working with FIFA? It's up to the commission to decide how much money they ultimately get, and then we'll negotiate deliverables. We are very concerned about spending $2.5 million, even though it's a 6-week event, on an event that, first of all, takes place in another county. And we know we're going to get room nights anyway. Plus the pressure of whether or not people are going to actually come, considering that there are so many issues with international travel right now. And there's so many stories out there where, people are anecdotally telling these stories about what it's like to come here or try to get home. We're just really circumspect about 2.5. Miami Beach just gave them 1.5 million, but of course that's in Miami. And the Miami-Dade County Commission is going to be debating whether or not to pull back on the commitment they made in the 2017 bid. They've paid half of the bid monies. They've put those up front. Then when they got the games, they're supposed to pay the other half. The Dade Commission is very concerned about paying that additional money, considering that every county is in a budget crunch for a variety of reasons. I'm asking you to think about this. And we'll let you know when it gets to the commission. And if you have an opinion about it, please don't hesitate to let us know. We're going to be asked what the industry thinks about it. We have our own marketing plan for FIFA to make sure that people know they stay here. And that we are actually closer to the stadium than a lot of places in Miami, certainly South Beach. We have a whole plan for that. but FIFA wants that money for themselves. And I just want you to keep that on your radar as we move.
Does it come out of your budget?
They're asking for TDT.
Well, last time at our MAC meeting, because we just had the TDC meeting, the challenge and the heartburn that we had around this table was the deliverables or their commitment to delivering things in our county. They were asking for money, but they were extremely vague of what they were willing to commit. Is that accurate? Because that was a TDC meeting I heard.
Yes.
Okay. And then the mayor said, listen, we can only do 259 or 249. I'm going to put you on the agenda, has that meeting happened with no.
No, they have, and they're not on the agenda for the August 21st meeting, because I saw that agenda. That was a meeting I was at before this. They're not on that agenda, but they'll come back in September. I mean, the games start in May, early June.
Well, again, I don't think, I'll speak for myself. I can't say that it's a good deal or bad deal because I don't know what the deal is. I just know they're asking for $2.5 million, but there's no deliverables on what we're getting for that.
I mean, as hoteliers here, June's a pretty good group month for everybody here.
Yep.
So what do you really see the upside of this being? I mean, you're making some more ADR because of demand. But in a sense, I'm not going to hold my hotel back and not book group. One of the dates is over 4th of July. Right. So we already know we're already sold out for that. One of the other dates are in June. And if you look historically, I think we all do somewhat pretty well there on a group perspective when I look at history on those dates. I'm not going to stop putting a good group on the books on those
Day whim. Hope.
right over this. And then it's basically get your group on whatever you're supposed to do. And then we'll see how people, we won't know till December 18th or something like
The games.
The game.
And the best we're getting is the quarterfinal.
So
The best game we're getting is the quarterfinal.
we anticipate that, these people are diehard. I mean, they're diehard. They're going to come. They're going to figure it out. They're going to pay for their tickets months in advance and then chose where they're going to go to. So they've already vested. So they're coming, right? But again, we have such like Super Bowl. We don't, the impact of Super Bowl doesn't hit us at all like it did in the 80s and 90s.
F1-ish,
F1 disappeared in a sense now. So I think when you look at that kind of money, if you looked around the room here, I would say that's ridiculous to spend that kind of money, even the 249 or whatever it is. I'd be like,
it's 2.5, it's 25% of the budget we just passed. Okay, that's what they're asking for. 25% of our annual marketing budget.
Now, we would ask for it not to come out of our.
No, I know that, but
just relative. Then reserves are used for hurricanes and pandemics and, the $1 million for the national championship game is coming out of reserves. It is not coming out of our side of the ledger, which is a relief, but a $1.5 billion project opening up in the next 60 days and, that's really where, anyway.
Yeah, well, I'm just giving an opinion.
I
I
appreciate
don't
that.
think that we could go down the route of spending a whole bunch of money on this piece. We just had Coldplay last weekend. We all did great on the weekend. Just didn't advertise. And Morgan Whalen a couple weekends ago.
To remember that,
pushed our argument. So we know we get it organically.
we all need to remember that in the Eras Tour,
Right.
we got 49% of the room nights in Broward County, and it didn't cost us anything.
Yeah. Right. And that's, we've been using that statistic regularly, but I just wanted to let you know this is coming up. We'll keep you posted, but these things are coming up and, they're all strains on a budget that's, the money's not unlimited. The money's never unlimited. Well, despite what we read in the paper, the money is never, we're not throwing it on trees in Broward County. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to call for meeting adjourned because we're already 10 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So any other last comments before we adjourn the meeting?
I do want to say something, what Stacy just brought up. When this does get on the county commission agenda, the hoteliers need to show up and voice their opinion of what it does for your properties or not, and why the money should or should not be spent. Because that's where the rubber meets the road, guys.
Who's going to relay that? When and how?
Say again?
When, how, what? Like, who's going to relay when this is?
Well, I'll be at the TDC meeting for next week and I'll mention what we feel as an organization. And then
If you need, you need me to be somewhere, I will. stand there and be there. So
if we had a clear, concise brand, because we're going to be on an international level, I might be in favor of spending that money. But since we're already confused, there's no reason.
Well, there's no marketing in the stadium.
Yeah,
So they won't give you marketing in the stadium for that. They will give you, the opportunity to host an official watch party, but that's not included in the 2.5, so we'd have to pay extra to host the watch party. The official watch parties and things are at Bayfront Park, and that's the only one there is.
Yeah.
So, and we're happy to, by the way, if anybody wants to see the deck from FIFA, we're happy to share it with you. We do get 40 hats that say Miami on them.
Mine towards summer.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you all. This will give this.
No, you.
Absolutely.
I think that you're like people here.
Oh,
Oh, no.
Yeah. All right, thanks.